Hi students, how are you? Dear students, today in this video, I am going to deal with one of the most important topic of English literature, especially of Shakespeare, Shakespearean comedy. In previous video, I have discussed Shakespearean tragedy. What are the salient features of Shakespearean tragedy? Now, in this video, you are going to study the salient features of Shakespearean comedy. Dear students, whenever the word comedy comes in your mind, a kind of fun, a kind of light-hearted mood, a kind of laugher, means some pleasure kind of thing comes in your mind. The very same kind of thing is employed here in the play. The play which provide you a kind of enjoy, pleasure and entertainment with some certain happy ending, an ending which is full of happiness, full of satisfaction. So that is called comedy. And in several comedies, you will find a happy ending. Here we are talking about William Shakespeare's comedies. You have studied comedies like Twelfth Night and you have studied As You Like It, Merchant of Venice, Tempest. So many comedies you have studied. A number of comedies, as you know, that Shakespeare is a master of comedies. You have studied a long number of comedies, especially written by William Shakespeare. But here in this video, you are going to study what are those features that is often found in all tragedies of William Shakespeare. Students, so let us start. The first and foremost important feature of William Shakespeare's comedy is comic language. Means William Shakespeare use a comic language in his comedies. Comic language, I mean to say, कि the dialogue what William Shakespeare use in his comedies, so that is full of those kinds of figures of speech and the organization of language, the setting of language, setting of word, which create a certain kind of pleasure, certain kind of laughter in your mind. Some ironical statements you will find, and sometimes you will find insult, some insulting language of a particular man, of a particular figure. Students, you can just take the example of Malvolio. In 12th night, you have studied as. So, the discussion between the queen and Malvolio, how Malvolio is insulted, the kind of ironical language she has used for Malvolio, as Malvolio is a comic character there. So, these kinds of organization of sentence, these kinds of settings, and especially the use of special kinds of figures of speech like pun, like excellent metaphors, that creates a kind of comic atmosphere and comic feel in the hearts of audience and spectators. So the first important quality, with the example I have made you clear, that comic language, the language of comedy, some pleasure giving language, a setting of language which creates a kind of entertaining atmosphere William Shakespeare used. So this is the first quality. And second quality is that in William Shakespeare's comedies, the most important thing is the presentation of love. Love has always been the major theme in William Shakespeare's plays. Here I want to add you that this is not the thing, means love is not the thing on what ground you can decide that this is tragedy and this is comedy. If love is there, you can say that definitely this is comedy. No. But love is one of the most important quality of comedies rather than tragedies. Love is there also in tragedies. The love of Ophelia and Hamlet is also there in Hamlet, but that is not comedy. Ultimately, we can say in Antonio and Cleopatra, you will find the love, but that is not comedy. I mean to say that the prime concern where love is there, that is comedy. In Twelfth Night, a triangle love story. If you have studied the character of Sebastian, Viola, and Duke Oricino, Malvolio, a kind of triangle love was there. And also in Tempest, you have studied the love of Miranda and Ferdinand, and also in Midsummer Night's Dream, the comic love what you find in especially in Helena, Hermia. So love is everywhere in his comedies, and the love, especially in love, obstacles you will find several where. Means love pairs will be there, love couples will be there, but easily they can't meet. This is the quality of William Shakespeare's plays, especially comedies, that lovers not easily meets. Means their love doesn't successful easily. On several steps, some obstacles you will find there, and ultimately in the end they get success. Means their love gets a success, and finally they got married. So this is one of the most important quality of William Shakespeare's comedies, that love theme is there. And another important quality what William Shakespeare has used for his comedies is complex plot. Students, again I am just reminding you that complex plot is the liking of William Shakespeare, whether he is writing tragedies or comedies or historical plays. But especially in comedies, he always likes complex plot. Complex plot means you will not find that a story is going smoothly in a single way, means you can predict that in future this is going to happen. No. Two or more than two stories are just going all along. The students, whether you can take the example of his comedies like Twelfth Night and Midsummer Night's Dream, or Merchant of Venice, in several comedies you will find that plot is always complex. So this is one of the most important quality of his comedies. And next important quality is, uh, you can say, generally disguise, disguise, yes, mistaken identity. Mistaken identity you will find in several comedies written by William Shakespeare. Mistaken identity, what is mistaken identity? Students, identity, mistaken identity, actually in two types of mistaken identity you find in William Shakespeare's comedies. One, that the character what is presented before you, actually that is not what he is being shown before you. Means his reality is different and his presentation on the stage and according to the setting of the plot is different. He's different, and mostly in disguise the characters are presented. Means male is presented as female and females are as male one. In Merchant of Venice you have seen that Portia in disguise presented in the court during the trial for Antonio, and also her assistant Nerissa was also in disguise, means she has also took the form of male one. Actually, she was a female one. Very same kind of thing you will find in Twelfth Night. Sebastian's character, Sebastian is there in the form of a female, and Viola is in male form. So this kind of disguise you will find in William Shakespeare's plays that creates a very excellent kind of comic atmosphere in theater while you are just entertaining, while you are just enjoying the comedy. This is one of the most important quality what I have discussed before you. Another important quality is clever characters, clever servants. In several plays, especially in comedies, you will find clever servants like excellent messengers in the form of messengers, in the form of servants. You will find some comic characters in the form of servants, as Prospero has Ariel and other supernatural servants he has, means supernatural spirits were there. Ariel was there, Caliban was there, who were actually there in the form of servant of Prospero, and they create a kind of comic atmosphere. And also the character of Malvolio is the same. And in the form of servant, what role has been played by Viola in Twelfth Night, that is also a comic creating a character. So these kinds of character you will find in comedies of William Shakespeare. Students, family tensions you will find. Another quality that family tensions are presented. Family tensions you will find in William Shakespeare's comedies. Means in the plot, the tension of families are presented. You have just seen in Tempest. Yes, in Tempest you can see the Prospero's dispute what was earlier in his family, how he was just made out from the land of his original, where he was earlier living as a king, he was there, and how his brother had cheated him. Means the dispute was there, disturbance was there. And also you'll find in Twelfth Night the same kind of dispute was there in husband and wife. uh, uh, a flower which just fruit, just juice was just put into the mouth, and she started loving a axe-headed man. So these kinds of things you will find, and this was because of a dispute in relation. You can say that some disturbance in relation. So in several comedies you will find the same kind of thing, students. And also in Merchant of Venice you have studied the character of Shylock. So Shylock's daughter, means the chemistry in between Shylock and Shylock's daughter was not a good. So these kinds of things, means in family disturbances are just shown in the comedies of William Shakespeare. This is one of the most important quality. And another very important quality what you will find in several comedies of William Shakespeare, that is marriage in the end. Students, whatever comedy you will study, written by William Shakespeare, you will find that whatever obstacle is found in the relation of love of a lover and beloved, hero and heroine, but finally all the obstacles are ended and finally they got married. This is the most important quality. And very same thing you have find in Merchant of Venice, in 12th Night, in a uh, Midsummer Night's Dream. The most expected marriage, which is somewhere entangled in some problems and disputes, finally that comes on plain surface and the characters got married. So marriage in the end is one of the most important quality of Shakespearean's comedies. And dear students, whatever what comedy you are studying written by William Shakespeare, you will find there music. Music is one of the most important quality of William Shakespeare's comedy. Songs you will find, music you will find in Shakespearean comedies. In 12th Night, the play is started with the atmosphere that when Duke Oricino was just there, found saying, "If music be the food of love, play on." In other comedies, in Tempest, you will find comedy, singing, songs, you will find there. The students, music, melody, and song you will find in Shakespearean comedies every time. This is one of the most important quality of William Shakespeare's comedies. And this is the common thing for every comedy written by any comedy playwright, that is happy ending. In several comedies and in William Shakespeare also, the comedies of William Shakespeare always gets a happy ending. Means whatever struggle, whatever dispute was earlier there, according to the plot of the comedy, that comes to an end and finally the audience gets happiness on their faces and comedy just comes to an end in happy mood, in happy ending form. The happy ending is another very important quality. And one very important quality, what you find in William Shakespeare's comedy, that is female dominating. Means female characters, directly if I say, heroines are most dominating figure in the comparison of heroes. If I compare it with the tragedies of William Shakespeare, then William Shakespeare's tragedies, hero is the dominating figure, but in comedies, heroines are the dominating figure. Means around the character of heroine, the story moves. Heroines plays, means female characters plays most important role in comedies. This is also very important thing what you find in the comedies of William Shakespeare. Another important thing that William Shakespeare's comedies are romantic comedies. Romantic comedies means some imaginary atmosphere, imaginary story, the story and the setting of the story, the plot, what William Shakespeare chalk out for his comedies. So you cannot relate these things with the reality. Means on real ground you cannot find anything possible. All the things are totally based on some imagination. Even the places what William Shakespeare sets for his comedies, for the setting of his comedies, so always they are imaginary. On real ground, generally those places are not found in any country or in any other city. Those are always some based on some imagination. This is the mental fruit of William Shakespeare, what in the form of states and empires and in the form of countries you will find in the comedies of William Shakespeare. Dear students, these are the important characteristics of William Shakespeare's comedies. What comedy you will just study, all these things you will find there. One thing I want to add here, that William Shakespeare's comedies, you know that in comedy generally uh, happiness is everywhere, laughter is everywhere, but a certain different kind of classification is also there about the dramas of William Shakespeare. When his comedies are just classified to romance, romantic comedies, and tragic comedies. Two terms are also there. So here I want to just make a brief light over. Students, in tragic comedy means tragedy is there, sorry, comedy is there throughout the drama. You find comic atmosphere, comic scenes, comic setting, but in sporadic places, in some places you get some kind of tragic feel, sad feel, as Merchant of Venice is an excellent kind of a comedy. But when Silax demands for the flesh of the body of Antonio, a kind of sadness and stunning, your mind is there. You feel sadness and sorry for that. A kind of tension is created in your mind. It creates a tragic atmosphere that Shylock is going to die now. So although comic setting is everywhere there, but a kind of uh, tragic feel is also there. So these kinds of tragedy, these kinds of comedies just comes in tragic comedy, and some kind of this kind of thing you will find in Tempest even. When, although this is a nice kind of comedy, but when Miranda was struggling, Miranda was upset very much. Watch the men on the ship struggling in the sea, although it was created by Prospero. But at that moment, what kind of fear was there in the mind of Miranda? It creates a kind of sadness, and also tragic comedy kind of mode is there also in that play. But especially in tragic comedy, you can take the example of Merchant of Venice. So this is also a kind of comedy, and some comedies, especially the comedies of last phase of William Shakespeare as Tempest. So these kinds of comedies comes in the form of romances. These kinds of comedies are called romantic comedy, or only romance sometimes it is said. Romance means when 100% total imagination that has no relation from the ground. In even all comedies, there is no relation from the ground. But in the comparison of other comedies, in romance, the ground reality is no more. With the description of supernatural that is not generally believable, you cannot believe on those things. Those kinds of plays like Tempest comes in the range of romances. So students, in this video I have tried to just make you clear about the concept of comedies written by William Shakespeare. With this note, I would like to thank you. Thank you, dear students. Thank you very much.